Welcome to another marvelous week in Women's History Month.
Yeah.
It just keeps going, doesn't it? So today we are talking about women winemakers and one bottle that we've already drank, woman wine owner Jules Taylor. So Jules Taylor actually started her winery in 1991 in Marlborough, New Zealand. So that is what we were sipping on while we were getting ready, a Pinot Noir. Beautiful, light.
Well, let's jump right in, okay? Let's do it.
Let's do
it. First, we're going to start with Raymond Vineyards. I'm gonna come show you the bottle.
Oh yeah. Because it's just so beautiful.
And it's a textured label, which are always really fun. It's this velvety, delicious texture to the touch.
It's delightful. Women made wines. Women made wines.
Yeah.
That's what I was like. Women wine made wines. It was really easy to find women made wines. I think wine.com actually had a whole category.
Wine.com did have a category. You can just type in woman owned and they will actually come up with women made as well, which is what most of these are. But they actually had a woman winemaking tasting trio. A woman winemaking tasting trio. And there were 3 of these lovely bottles and it was a pretty good price. Y'all should go for it. Try out some new wine. And it was from all over, so pretty interesting. Go for it. So Raymond Vineyards actually has 3 women at the top of their leadership team for winemaking, which is very cool. Love seeing an all-woman team.
Yes.
Love seeing that. But the head winemaker is Stephanie Putnam, and she has been making wine for so many years at many different vineyards. And when Raymond Vineyards decided to take her on, they sort of exploded in their popularity because they were taking it really seriously. They decided to kick it up a notch with their biodynamic wine and their organic wine. They decided to take the earth a lot more serious as well by, you know, seeing what the earth needs and giving it back. So there's Stephanie Putnam, who is the director of winemaking, and then there is Sophie Drucker, who is the wine grower and the vineyard manager, which is
that's a lot of responsibility.
Quite a lot of responsibility. I can't imagine doing most done. And then we have Kathy George, who's the assistant manager of the vineyard as well. So those 3 women at the top of leadership for winemaking at Raymond Vineyards, really cool. Raymond Vineyards has really deep roots in Napa Valley. Actually back in the day, in 1930s, sometime back then, the Beringer family and the Raymond family actually tied together in marriage. So the Raymond family became a part of the Beringer family, and the Raymond family actually worked as winemakers for a while. Roy Raymond worked at the winery from 1934 to 1970.
Oh, right before it was sold to Nestle. I think it was sold to Nestle or another big company like that. It was either Nestle or Coca-Cola. They actually bought some wineries in the 70s and 80s when things were really low. And then they figured out it's not the same as making a Pepsi. They sold it. So
they're like, wow, this requires a lot more science.
Yeah, so they actually, became a family, and then in 1970, Roy Raymond decided with his 2 children to make the Raymond Vineyards on 90 acres of land. So he was like set, like he could, it's not like he was a struggling winemaker. But they came out with their first vintage for commercial wine in 1974, only 4 years later.
Ooh.
So they got on it. They bought that land, they put in that winery, and they started selling 4 years later, which is a really impressive turnaround time. They're saying for this collection of wines is the dress code is velvet. So that is Raymond Vineyards.
Love it.
So the winemaker's notes are hints of blackberry, black currant, espresso with hints of violet.
Ooh.
And this wine actually is the perfect symbolization of what wine from St. Helena and Rutherford is from. So it's going to be some of that Rutherford dust is going to be in that wine. So we're going to be able to taste those notes as if, you know, we could try wineries in that same area, we would still get the same tasting notes. So it's really interesting the differences between wine that is made in Napa proper as opposed to St. Helena as opposed to Rutherford, and they're all within what, 15-20 miles of each other. So yeah, pretty cool, pretty cool.
So another wine that we are going to talk about today is this Chateau Saint Michel Riesling. And with Rieslings, we always have this beautiful long neck bottle. Look at that long neck. I love it. So Chateau Saint Michel, the actual property dates back to 1912, but they didn't actually start successfully making wine until the late 70s, which is sitting on that property for a long time. So Chateau Saint Michel is located in Washington State, and it is actually one of very few wineries in the world that have 2 vineyards that they grow their wine on. So they actually have a white wine vineyard and a red wine vineyard. Their white wine vineyard is at the Chateau in Woodinville, Washington. Their red wine is made at their Canoe Estates vineyard in Eastern Washington. They actually have quite a few women involved at Saint Michel in their winemaking process. A lot of them being winemakers, one of them being their culinary expert because they do actually have a restaurant on property, and also they do, you know, like a little charcuterie.
Love a charcuterie. Love a charcuterie.
The first woman we're going to talk about at Chateau Saint Michel is Leah Adden. So she is a red winemaker at the property, and she grew up in Alaska. Her father was actually a wine distributor in Alaska.
It's cold in here. There must be some toros in the atmosphere. I said, oh-wee. Ice, ice, ice. Break it down.
So Leah Adden actually grew up in Alaska around wine her whole life. Her father was a wine distributor, and she saw like that he would be going to all these fancy dinners, would be sent all these gifts.
Trying to get flued out.
And she was like, damn, that's what I want to do. So she attended Washington State University wine science program, and from there she was like, I just want to see how much I can travel. So she went to Napa, and then she went to Sonoma, and I was like, wow, you didn't get very far. So she actually ended up going to the University of Adelaide and got her master's in enology there. At the Chateau, we also have Tracy Keller. She is the president and an enologist for the Chateau. So I actually couldn't find much information about good old lady Tracy, but it's very strange, Tracy. You gotta get yourself out there more. You get some interviews. I wanna hear your thoughts. But Chateau Saint Michel actually has a huge part in funding scholarships. So they actually fund the John Sarek Scholarship, which goes towards culinary students going into the culinary profession. So they fully fund that one. Partially fund the Woodinville Wine County Diversity Scholarship that helps underrepresented people in the wine industry. So that's awesome.
That's amazing.
That's amazing. Love to see established wineries, you know, putting money into their community and making sure that underrepresented people have the opportunity to get into these fields. The Chateau does have a couple other women involved. They have Holly Wells and Lacey Steffi, who are also 2 women winemakers at the Chateau. White women, but we're working on it. It's all white women. I'm sorry, it's all white women.
And we're not taking it out on you, what are their names? We're not taking it out on you, Holly and Lacey. It's not y'all, it's the system.
And then they have also a female culinary lead, Katie Bannister, which is awesome. So I've heard that what I've read is that the process at Chateau Ste. Michelle is very inclusive. They like to, you know, consult all the other winemakers, so it's really great that a woman's touch is put in there in every bottle of wine. And if you go on Chateau Ste. Michelle's website, they actually are running a special for Women's History Month, and you can get a box of wine. a case of wine. A box of wine. You can mix and match, get a case of wine. By these women winemakers, you know, expand your horizons.
Honestly. So the next winery that we are going to be highlighting is in Argentina, and we are going to be talking about the Cantena Zapata Bodega, and we are going to be tasting their 2017 Chardonnay. Now, I know you're saying, wait a minute, Justice.
Wait a sec.
I've heard you talk Chardonnay many a time on Wine Wednesday. What do we call that? Growth. Okay.
Also, we call that shit talking Napa.
Literally. Ooh. So this winery is actually a historic winery that has a really big impact on the Argentinian wine market. So they have a really rich history. They were founded in 1902 by Nicolás Cantana Zapata. I'm sorry, no respect for me. So he founded this winery, but it wasn't until 3 generations later with Nicolás Cantana Zapata, aptly named, that he actually saw that the property had a really good yield of high-end Malbecs, and he really sought out to make it known. So in 1994, he launched a luxury Malbec that was actually one of the first wine exports of Malbec from Argentina, and it won so many awards. And he actually, this winery is credited with really putting luxury Malbecs on the map,
which has exploded Argentina's Malbec production to, I think that's their most heavily produced red wine.
Nicolás is still running the winery today, but with his daughter, Dr. Laura Cantana. So her father, Nicolás, kind of put Malbec on the map, put the winery on the map, and she's the 4th generation vintner, and she's kind of known as the face of Malbec in Argentina. Her study is really studying the microbiomes, microbiomes and wine ageability. So she's really studying the enology and the viticulture and seeing how they can play on that, because one of the most unique things about this winery is they are high altitude. So for example, in Napa or Calistoga, you have Mount Hood, Mount Diamond Mountain, and other suches. And I think the highest peak is like 4,000 y pico. This in Mendoza, Argentina is 5,000 and up altitude. So very, very high altitude. So one of the amazing things about high altitude wines is they're kissing God, okay? Están ahí en el monte parados, okay? So the higher you go, the lower the temperature, but they're still getting a lot of sunlight, which is going to yield low alcohol, high acidic white wines, which is actually really desirable in kind of lighter white wines like Chardonnays and other varietals. So this Chardonnay that we're tasting, vintage 2017, was grown in their highest altitude vineyard. So it's supposed to have these amazing notes while still keeping the acidity and the alcohol inbound. Where their vineyard is amongst the Andes mountain is an area called Adriana, and this has a lot of purity of flavors and minerals in the actual soil. So combined with the high altitude, those cool, crisp climates, and also this, you know, like how we refer to Rutherford dust, every land has its own unique flavors. Grab a cup of dirt and eat it. I don't know what to tell you. It just does. So they have Mariela Molinari. Molinari, who has been on their team since 2004. She is a female winemaker who actually used to work for Kendall Jackson in Napa, which is actually a really popular and kind of lauded vineyard in Napa. So that's pretty cool. And what a job. You know, working in Napa one day, now she lives in Mendoza, Argentina, having her fill of high altitude wine. So
cheers to women.
Cheers to women. So let's see what the website says. So this has tasting notes of pears.
First, which I really do. I taste a very, you know, unripe pear.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely picking up the pears. It also says notes of peaches with delicate citrus and floral notes, such as jasmine. So I definitely am picking up the stone fruit. Very light, but also has kind of a punch at the end. Really like it.
Really like it.
I really, really like it.
And we're about to have salmon with broccolini because we're on a health tip. But the website says that you can pair this with some lime.
It's a very regular dinner. It's a very regular dinner.
Salmon and broccoli. I've never eaten more vegetables than with these two fruits.
Listen.
God forbid you
God
eat a vegetable. God forbid.
Most of the time you don't even do it. But the food pairing is seafood. Salmon from the sea.
So apart from seafood, which is what you generally pair with Chardonnay or white wine, they also say lime marinated chicken, which is
yeah.
And I feel like that lime, a zesty chicken, would really bring out those citrus notes and would be a really nice play on the, you know, stone fruit.
Yeah. Yes. To be honest, I'm not getting as much acidity out of here as was promised.
Yeah. Well, that is the Cantena Zapata, and this is called Cantena Alta. Alta meaning high. Okay, high.
Like high.
Yes, I think this is amazing, and I love learning about historical wineries. You know.
Yes.
Just what you want.
Yeah, definitely.
If you have not checked it out yet, our website is up. It is www.thegbdgirls.com.
Yes.
So go check it out. Check out some of our recipes, our treats, learn some more about us.
We're going to give you one more week of celebrating badass bitches in the wine industry. And as always, put us on if you know somebody, okay? We love learning, putting women and disenfranchised folks on. So let us know what wine you're drinking, or if you
Just drinking, baby. Cheers.